On the Saints door, quarterback sneak by Tom Brady to the 43-year-old score. He did. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Spike that ball, Tom Brady. Who says I'm 43? He runs right up the gut and scores 6. 7. Handoff, run the ball. Fournette slashes away to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 30, 25, to the 20. Fournette to the 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Run the ball, Leonard Fournette. Wow, what a blast up the gut, found daylight, and outran everybody. Fire the cannons, get them going. Bucks win. Bucks win, Bucks win. Fire them cannons.
First snap in Vikings territory for Tampa Bay. Brady all day. Downfield. Touchdown, Scotty Miller. Four-man rush. Brady airing it out, going deep. He's got it to Antonio Brown. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Ronald Jones will get a big hole. Jones gets by. Ronald Jones may go all the way. Being chased from behind. Does Jones have enough? Still on his feet. Ronald Jones, 98-yard touchdown.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Swords Up Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about my 2020-21 NFL season playoff prediction. And now that it is time for the playoffs, I will be doing this again. I did it at the beginning of the season, and let's just say my predictions were not the best. I also did one last year, and it was pretty terrible. Obviously, that was before this channel started, but all you need to know is that it was pretty bad. So we'll see if I can do better with predictions this time. And I might actually end up doing another video in the future where I go back on the predictions from the beginning of the season and see how they were, but that'll be a video for another time. And so today we're going to be talking about my playoff preview, as well as you'll also get to see a peek of how far I think the Bucks will go in this year's playoffs. Alright, so obviously here is the playoff bracket, and as you can see, I've lined it up all the way with the current matchups that are to be played in the wild card round. And so let's just get right into it. I'll be going for the wild card round by the order of when the matchups are going to be played. Obviously, I can't do that for the rest of them because we don't know when the matchups are going to be. And so for that, I'll just probably go in order of top to bottom, starting on the left side. And so the first wild card game being played this weekend is Saturday at 1 o'clock. Bills and the Colts. Bills the number 2 seed in the AFC, Colts at number 7. And this is one of the games that I feel pretty confident in picking. I think the Bills offense is on a roll right now. Josh Allen playing on fire. You could make a case for him to be in the MVP conversation if it weren't for Aaron Rodgers, but nonetheless, he's been playing at an elite level this season. He's definitely been the most improved quarterback this year. I know the Colts defense is among the league's best, but I think just Josh Allen, this Bills offense. We'll see if Cole Beasley plays or not, but still Stephon Diggs should play, and they should be able to light up the Colts. With Phillip Rivers, I don't know. He's really good in the first half following game script, but then he's just not very great in the second half, and I think the Bills will be out ahead of the Colts to the point where they have to throw the ball, and then it's just not going to end up well. I don't trust Phillip Rivers in that scenario, so I don't think there's any chance for that run game to get going just because they'll be behind early. And so with that, I'll have the Bills winning. I think it could be a comfortable win for them, but nonetheless, they advance, and I feel pretty confident about that. All right, so the second matchup on this Saturday is going to be the number 3 seed Seahawks at home against the number 6 seed Rams, an NFC West divisional showdown. And this should really be a defensive slugfest. Both offenses are struggling right now, and the Seahawks defense really started off the season among the league's worst, but they have improved a lot over the course of the season. The trade they made for Carlos Dunlap from the Bengals really helped out their pass rush, and also Jamal Adams has provided some of that as well. But nonetheless, Jamal Adams needs to be healthy for the Seahawks defense to really make a stand in this one. We'll see if Jared Goff plays or not, but either way, I still think this Rams offense and how Sean McVay runs it, I just think that pretty much any solid QB could run this offense. I think it's a very quarterback-friendly offense, so I don't think it really matters much if John Wolford, the backup, or Jared Goff starts in this one. And just the way the Seahawks offense has been playing recently, I don't really trust them whatsoever against this Rams defense, which is one of the league's best. I think Jalen Ramsey is going to have a shutdown game against DK Metcalf. Look for Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd in the pass rush of the Rams to really generate some pressure on Russell Wilson. He's probably going to be running for his life in this one. And so with that being said, I think this one will be a fairly low-scoring game, and I think this will be the one big upset that happens in the playoffs. I think the Rams will go on the road to beat the Seahawks, and the Rams under Sean McVay have played the Seahawks really well, and so I expect that to continue here in the playoffs with the Rams winning against the Seahawks in a low-scoring defensive battle. But then moving on to the Bucs, and that is our game at 8:15 p.m. on a Saturday against the Washington football team. I'll get into more of my in-depth analysis in my preview video, so go watch that if that video is already out by the time you're seeing this. So I'll save most of my analysis for the video, but I'm going to be predicting a Bucs win in this one, so they'll be moving on to the divisional round. Alright, now with the Sunday games. Starting out with the Ravens and the Titans at 1 o'clock. And this is a matchup of last year's divisional round. These teams also met during the season. The Titans won both this season's game and last season's divisional round matchup. And the main reason definitely was with Derrick Henry. I mean, he is amazing. I mean, he reached 2,000 yards rushing on the season. I mean, what else can you say about him? I mean, he's just big, he's strong, he stiff arms people into the ground, he's also really sneaky fast. He's just a really, really dangerous weapon to go up against. I don't think anybody wants to tackle him. But then again, this Ravens offense is clicking. Their own run game is actually playing really well. J.K. Dobbins, the rookie running back, has been breaking out in this latter half of the season. Lamar Jackson looks like he's back to his old form, but I think the deciding factor is the defenses. I think with players coming back for the Ravens that were previously injured, so they'll be back healthy, but the Titans defense, they're relatively healthy, yet their defense has been playing pretty poorly over these last few weeks, so I think that'll be the deciding factor in this one. I think this game will probably be one of the higher scoring games of the playoffs, and I'll predict a Ravens win, so they move on to play the Chiefs. Alright, game number 2 on Sunday, and that's going to be the Saints at home against the Bears. The Bears barely squeaked into the playoffs. They got lucky with the Rams winning over the Cardinals, but nonetheless, their offense was playing pretty well before that Packers game, and Mitch Trubisky's future with the Bears could be really riding on this game. If he performs well, maybe it convinces General Manager Ryan Pace to give him another year in Chicago at least, but we'll see how that goes. Even if they lose and he plays well, I think he might have a chance to come back, but this will definitely be a huge game for him, and I think he actually performs well against this really good Saints defense. I know that's probably an unpopular take, but I really do still believe from what I've seen in the last quarter of the season that he has improved since he retook the starting job because of the Nick Foles injury. And the Saints defense, they've been really good throughout the season, but have slumped a little as of late. We'll see if the offense can get it rolling. Drew Brees, since he came back from all those fractured ribs, has played all right. I mean, he wasn't great against the Chiefs, and he was okay against the Vikings, but he played well again against the Panthers. And so we'll see if he can play at least competently enough, and they can get the ball to Alvin Kamara, and he can make some special plays, because he should be coming back from the COVID-19 reserve list to play. I think the Saints can definitely win this game, but I think it will be another close game like it was when these two met up in the regular season. Don't think it'll be an overtime game like that one ended up being, but I think the Bears do play the Saints closer than most people will think. Nonetheless, they'll still get a win in this one. That means they advance to play the Bucs in the divisional round. And then finally, the Steelers and the Browns, a big AFC North rivalry on Sunday Night Football. I think this one's going to be one of the easier predictions, even though the Steelers did kind of slump their way into the playoffs. They started out 11-0, we all know, and then they ended up losing 3 straight games, first to Washington, then to the Bills, and then to the Bengals. But they rebounded and won against the Colts and then put their backups in against the Browns in Week 17. And so they play again this week, but the Steelers will have their starters rested. And I think the coaching staff will be prepared since they played this team just last week. Speaking of coaching staffs, the Browns are going to be without their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, and some important players, including left guard Joel Bitonio, due to being placed on the COVID-19 list. And so with that being said, a lot's going to be riding on the Browns in this one. I think there's just a lot of pressure with them being in the playoffs, their first time back in the playoffs in such a long time. I know it's kind of the same situation with the Bucs, but I just think the Bucs have Tom Brady, and that's the ultimate X factor with his playoff experience. I just don't think the Browns are experienced enough to win any playoff games yet. And so this game is probably going to be the easiest one for me to predict in this round, and I'll say the Steelers win this one. I don't know if they'll necessarily win by a comfortable margin, but they'll definitely win this one. I would be shocked if they somehow drop out in the wild card round. All right, so moving into the divisional round, I have the 1-seeded Chiefs rested for now 2 weeks. Their starters have been going up against the Ravens, the 4-seed, which many people predicted was going to be the conference championship game in the AFC last season before the Titans upset the Ravens in the divisional round. And so I see the Ravens offense staying hot, rolling off a win against the Titans, and they go to play the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. And I just think the Chiefs will outscore them. I mean, they're rested, they're ready. Patrick Mahomes didn't end off the season on a very good note. This offense wasn't at their best for sure, but I think they'll be prepared and focused for this one. This will definitely be a shootout. Definitely going to be closer than that Week 3 game that these two teams played in. But I still say the Chiefs will win this one and advance to the conference championship game. And now a rematch of a Sunday night football game from a few weeks ago. Steelers at the Bills. Now, I think these two teams are definitely in different spots than they were going into that game. The Steelers were definitely riding high. I know they just lost their first game to Washington coming in to play the Bills, but they were still the AFC's number 1 seed at that moment. Bills were down at number 3 at that moment, but I think that win against the Steelers really propelled the Bills to the top of the league. I think right now they're the hottest team in the league, and so they're definitely going to be continuing to play their best football coming off against that win against the Colts. I think they continue it, playing the Steelers defense. Maybe Josh Allen doesn't have as good of a day as he would have against the Colts, but I still think the Steelers, even though they got a week of rest in Week 17, I still think they're tired, and I don't think that this Steelers offense has enough to really give them a deep postseason run. I mean, there's really no run game there, and I don't think you can really trust Ben Roethlisberger to throw 50-something times a game, which is what has happened in a few of their games this year. I don't really trust them doing that against a team like the Bills with a very explosive offense. There's no way the Steelers are going to be able to outscore the Bills. And so the Bills will move on to the conference championship game in the AFC to play the Chiefs. And then on the NFC side, the Packers with the number 1 seed playing the Rams, the number 6 seed. The Rams, a dome team, going to Lambeau Field to play the Packers. Who knows what kind of weather conditions it'll be, but we'll know for sure it's going to be cold up there. And this just screams mismatch to me. It's just written all over. I mean, the only time we've seen the Packers offense really struggle has been against the Bucs when they only put up 10 points and had 2 interceptions from Aaron Rodgers, one being a pick 6. Other than that, Aaron Rodgers has played well in every game this year. And so we'll see if that were to continue against the Rams. I don't know if Jared Goff will be playing in that game, but let's just assume Jared Goff plays in that game. The Packers' defense in the second half of the season has been sneaky good against the pass. Still not great against the run, but they have been improving. And I just think that if this were to be the scenario that the Rams were to come in, I think Jared Goff has a really bad day. I just think it gets ugly for them. And I just don't see this Packers offense being stopped. I think the only way they're going to be able to be stopped is if a team puts up more points than they do. And so for that reason, I'll have the Packers advancing against the Rams. I'd say that game is a pretty comfortable win for the Packers. Then moving on to the final divisional round game in my prediction, Bucs and the Saints for the 3rd time this year. And it seems like this year that the Saints have really had our number, that it just seems like that there's going to be no way to beat them because they just overpowered us in both our games this season. You go back to week 1, and that was really a self-inflicted loss with all those mistakes we had. But then in that Sunday night football game, yes, there were a lot of mistakes in that game, but we just got flat out outplayed in that one. I mean, the Saints were in tip-top shape in that one. That was probably, I'd say, their best game of the season. But something tells me that going into this game, it would be very different. Now, I might be kind of a homer for this pick, but I just think the Saints, with their playoff heartbreak in the past 3 years that they've suffered, I don't know if they can really make it all the way to the Super Bowl without being in some kind of close game situation that they're on the wrong end of yet again. And who knows, maybe that could happen in this one. I mean, it was Tom Brady with all the turnovers against the Saints defense in the first 2 games, but something tells me it would be different this time around. That if Tom Brady can be protected well enough, that he'll be able to have a good performance against the Saints. I don't know. I think our defense would be definitely better prepared coming into this one. I think that stopping short plays and the run will force Drew Brees to throw the ball, and who knows what that's going to go like. But we saw that it wasn't really much of a problem against the Panthers, but against the Bucs, who defend against short plays and the run really well, that I think it would be a different scenario. And also, it's just really tough for a team to be able to beat another team 3 times in one season. It's just really rare. You don't see that happening very often. And I know I picked Steelers to beat the Browns, meaning they would win 3 games this season over them. But I think that scenario is completely different because the Browns are dealing with the COVID issues with key personnel being out. But if both teams were healthy coming into this matchup, I just think the Bucs would be able to turn it around. I think you can't deny how well Tom Brady has been playing right now, and I think in this matchup he'd be able to do just enough to squeeze past the Saints and advance to the NFC Championship game. Alright, so then my AFC Championship prediction would be the number 1 seeded Chiefs playing the number 2 seeded Bills. This would be quite the quarterback matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. While I think Josh Allen has been playing better to end out the regular season, I just think that Patrick Mahomes will find a different gear in the playoffs. I think he'll be able to turn it back up. And I think the Chiefs, their offense has been struggling, but with these 2 weeks off they're going to get, coming off of a win against the Ravens, they're going to feel really good coming into this one. They'll be at home, and I think this is where the Bills' inexperience in the postseason gets them. Maybe Josh Allen makes a couple of mistakes in this one. Maybe the Chiefs just flat out outscore them again like I predict in the Ravens game. But nonetheless, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to squeeze past the Bills, and they're going to be able to advance to their 2nd straight Super Bowl. And then on the NFC Championship, Packers and the Bucs. The Bucs obviously destroyed the Packers in their first meeting back in Week 6. But with this matchup being in Lambeau Field, I don't know. I just see it being a completely different kind of ball game. And by this time, I think, same with the Bills, the Bucs' inexperience in the playoffs is going to catch up to them. While I do think Tom Brady will have a good game in this setting, something tells me that our defense will crack on this environment. But I think Tom Brady's going to do everything he can to stay in the game with his experience and leadership. And he's played in many of these cold weather playoff games before. But something just tells me that this Packers team is rolling, and that Aaron Rodgers is a man on a mission, and I think that they are going to be advancing to the Super Bowl to play Kansas City Chiefs. And so that's my prediction for Super Bowl 55, Chiefs and the Packers. Patrick Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers, arguably the 2 best quarterbacks in the league this season, with these 2 facing off. If this were the Super Bowl 55 game, I think everyone would expect a really high-scoring game, and I would think that too with Aaron Rodgers going up against Patrick Mahomes and these explosive offenses. And while I think the Packers do put up a really good fight in this one, and I think this one is close, maybe the Packers control it for most of the game like the 49ers did against the Chiefs back in Super Bowl 54 last season. I think the Chiefs just have too many weapons for the Packers to defend against, and I think we're going to see that Chiefs magic really show in this Super Bowl if they end up making it. Personally, my opinion is that if the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, there's no way they will not win that game. And if they don't make the Super Bowl, they'll probably go out in the AFC Championship game. It's either they lose in the AFC Championship game for me, or they win the Super Bowl. That's what I see happening. And so they make it to the Super Bowl. They know what's on the line. They were in the spot last year, and I would say with the win against the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, they would show that they are going to be the next rising dynasty in the NFL. So the Chiefs win a high-scoring game in Super Bowl 55 in Tampa. And so that is my playoff predictions for this season. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. We'll see how this all plays out. Obviously, my predictions in the past haven't been great. Maybe if I was predicting scores, they'd be a lot better, because some of my Bucs score predictions this year were really good and on the money. But hopefully my prediction luck for predicting teams can actually go the right way this time. And so that is it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and go Bucs.